lovely to be here with you all. Your Excellency, honoured guests, it's a joy to see you here, and also lovely to see a lovely full room. Well done for getting through the torrential rain outside. You've just overcome your first risk of the day. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. I have the enormous honour to be the 696th Lord Mayor of London, and that's an extraordinary role to fulfil. It's a role that dates back to 1189, and in the 836 years, the role of Lord Mayor has gone through many different iterations, but the current one is to be the global ambassador for the United Kingdom's financial, professional, legal and maritime services. And that involves two things. One is to go and seek foreign direct investment into those remarkable sectors from around the world. But the second thing is, and equally important, is to get my size 12 boot and to kick British-based businesses to do so much more in the world around us, particularly those economies that are growing at 5, 6, 7% per annum. These are the extraordinary opportunities that the United Kingdom has. And also, the United Kingdom businesses have an extraordinarily good reputation around the world for doing really good things. People want to buy the sorts of things that the United Kingdom has to sell. And so that's very much my message. And I've been going around the world with a mantra, and that is effectively that if you want to insure against catastrophe, do it in London. If you want to raise debt or raise equity, do it in London. If you want to fall out with your partners, sue them in London. Now, it's important just to make it clear, I'm not a risk professional. I'm not here to tell you how to do your jobs. My role is to be the champion of the United Kingdom's financial, professional, legal and maritime services on a global stage, and to create the conditions whereby leaders can succeed. And from where I sit, speaking with investors, with governments, regulators and businesses from across the global markets, I can tell you this, and that is the risk conversation is changing. Risk is no longer being treated as something to be controlled or contained. It is becoming something that can be mobilised for growth and for innovation and for resilience. Chief risk officers are, of course, enormously important in an organisation, but also important for that shift that I've just mentioned. As we gather here today, new alliances are being made and new battle lines are being drawn. And I'm not just talking about the Beckham family feud. Brexit, apparently it's been called. I'm talking about our rapidly changing geopolitical landscape. From the rise of protectionism to the increasing frequency of cyber attacks, the world is changing at breakneck speed. The old order has passed away. Looking ahead, I strongly believe that the defining capability that will separate leading financial centres like London from their competitors is not necessarily just their size or their reputation, but their ability to manage risk. And what do I mean? Well, firstly, the obvious, it is the ability to identify and respond to emerging threats. Secondly, and far more importantly, in this context, I believe, and that is, it is the ability to seize the opportunities presented by our changing world. Whether that's embracing the new technologies, the white heat of the new technologies, such as AI, or to forming new relationships with new partners in the emerging markets, or acting as a safe harbour for international investment. London is very good, perhaps too good, at the first part of the equation, protecting itself against threats. We need to be better at the second part of the equation, which is going out and forming new partnerships and new relationships. It's the cautious attitude that we have adopted, and it's allowed, partly allowed the global financial crisis to occur, and we've developed a full-blown allergy to risk. An allergy which stifles innovation, stifles growth, and prevents us from reaching our full potential. Comparing the earnings releases from the 50 largest corporations in the S&P 500 and the 50 largest corporations in the UK's FTSE 100, McKinsey found that American businesses has twice as many references to ambition than their UK counterparts, and 20% more references to the word innovation. I can give you an example exactly of what I have to say. A great friend of mine is the chair of a really big financial services business here in the city, and that business has both UK-based directors but also Asian-based directors. And they said, the chair said, Alastair, if I gave you a transcript of my board meeting, and I redacted the names of the individual board members, you would be able to tell with 100% accuracy which were the comments of the Asian-based directors, which were the comments of the UK-based directors. The UK-based directors, their comments suffused with the concepts of governance and the concepts of process. The Asian-based directors, their comments suffused with the concept of eating other people's lunches. Now, I'm about 110 kilograms if you're being charitable. I quite like eating other people's lunches. It's good, I enjoy it. But and I'm not saying that process and risk are bad things. But what I am saying is that perhaps in the United Kingdom, in our financial professional services businesses, we've got perhaps the balance slightly incorrect. And we need to redress some of that balance to get a little bit more eating other people's lunches back into our system. From my travels around the global markets, places like London, Singapore, Riyadh, New York, it's clear that risk and resilience are a core part of the boardroom conversations. And as I said at the start of my speech, that conversation is really starting to shift. Risk is increasingly being viewed as something that can be mobilized for growth. But, in my opinion, that shift is not happening fast enough. My mayoral theme during the course of my year as Lord Mayor is Growth Unleashed. It's an unabashed call to be bolder, to change our mindset, to reignite the city's appetite for responsible risk-taking so that we can compete and beat our global competitors and ensure that economic growth for the country will continue to grow. Chief Risk Officers, we need to be at the vanguard of this mindset reform, and that's why we have gathered you here today. Recent research by our great friends at City St George's University, of which more of them in a moment, and I had the honour to commission that in the run-up to becoming Lord Mayor, and it provides the cornerstone for this event, found that the role of the Chief Risk Officer has evolved over recent years. Thank you very much indeed to Dr. Cormac Bryce, the Lord Mayor's Research Fellow at Bayes Business School and the Finsbury Institute for doing the work on this. And thank you to Dr. Bryce for very kindly taking part in one of our panel sessions today. Thank you also to the Dean of Bayes Business School, Professor Andre Spicer, with whom I've been speaking about this event, really, for the last 18 months. So it was lovely to see this come to fruition today. The research team at Bayes Business School found that although the CROs were once seen as the no team, enforcing strict compliance, CROs are now strategic partners in the boardroom, guiding organisations through increasingly complex risk landscapes, whilst fostering innovation, creating value and driving growth. This, of course, is not news to you. You know this. But, as you well know, CROs are not the risk blockers, but the growth enablers. And that's really what we want to underline during the course of our session today and go off into the world to proselytise. We want to combine oversight with foresight to empower boards to take risk well. We need to see more business leaders recognising the powerful resource that they have within their own teams, in their chief risk officers. As one of the 31 chief risk officers interviewed as part of the report I mentioned earlier said, people are ready, willing and able to deploy their skills in growing responsible growth very sensibly, and leaders should not neglect the highly skilled resource to boost informed risk-taking that Chief Risk Officers has. To borrow a line from Lord Kitchener, your company needs you, CROs, now more than ever. Today's summit, we will examine the CRO's dual mandate, exploring how the industry can respond to challenges such as global rising protectionism, supply chain disruption, and the emergence of the new technologies, and ensure business continuity in an ever-changing geopolitical landscape. I hope that today sparks some new ideas and leads to new connections that will support you in your work. That's exactly what it is designed to do. But I think what is really important, and perhaps the most important part of my speech today, and that is that I want this to be just the start of this conversation. And so often we put on events that there's a wonderful warm feeling in the room. We want to do things and change things. And then at the end of the event, people go back to their desks and there's very little follow-up. I think here that we've got a real opportunity to try and grasp this coming together of all these wonderful chief risk officers here in the city. And we'll be launching a special practitioner group, the Chief Risk Officers Network, to keep the drumbeat going. I invite you all to join it, and if you'd like to play a more active role, please think about joining that network's steering group. And I just think it is an enormous opportunity to bring this cohort together, this transmission mechanism that goes directly from the driver in the form of the board into the engine in the form of the company's activities. You know, CROs are such an important transmission mechanism, and we want to have so many of the CROs together in order to have this grouping and work out how we can do things together. And we want to return to the idea of risk appetite. And of course, CROs are a vital part of that puzzle. As part of my Growth Unleashed programme, I'm also working with senior practitioners to develop innovative ideas aimed at improving risk culture and also getting smarter regulation to support growth. There must be clear lines of distinction between good risks, bad risks, and risks for risk's sake. This is what will help us get clarity on what we're trying to do, and also we look forward to sharing some proposals in relation to this in the summer. I would like you to do a bit of work today and that is we'll be using Menti, a system to get people's views on a number of the points that we'll be mentioning, and also we'll ask you to respond to some surveys, perhaps in the breaks, in relation to risk and regulation. And this is on top. This particular event is on top of the other work that we do to promote Britain's leadership in risk management. And an example of that is the Global Risk Summit that we'll be holding next year, which will be here in Mansion House, which I think will be a cornerstone event for global risk management. And the measures to inject more risk and responsible risk-taking, I think, into the system has been recognised in something that we announced just last week, and that is the Mansion House Accord. It's a voluntary industry-led agreement committing 17 of the United Kingdom's defined contribution pension schemes to invest 10% of their portfolios in private markets by 2030, 5% of which will have to be into the United Kingdom. And that pact could see up to £100 billion of investment mobilised into high-growth companies, infrastructure, house building, and improving returns for pension savers. 50% of that, again, is into the United Kingdom. Alongside that, we also want to work with you to ensure that the sector is more inclusive. Data from Oliver Wyman shows that women make up just 19% of risk and actuarial professionals in the United Kingdom. Today's agenda has been consciously built to reflect Britain's gender balance by the professional needs of the system needs to change. So the City Corporation stands ready to work with industry to widen participation, challenge norms, and broaden the pipeline for future CROs. Something I mentioned to some of you earlier on, and that is in relation to, just to give you an example of the sort of thing I'm talking about. I had a conversation with the CEO of one of the big investment banks here in the city. And they were saying that if a junior investment banker went to their CRO with a project financing in Indonesia, then almost certainly that project would go straight into the bin. Effectively, Indonesia, too difficult. Yet Indonesia is growing at 5.5%. It's currently the 11th largest economy in the world, according to the OECD. Before the end of the decade, it is due to become the 6th largest economy in the world, overtaking the United Kingdom. We must be doing things in relation to Indonesia. That same investment bank has many investment bankers running around in Indonesia looking for project financings. But they have business cards saying New York, they have business cards saying Sydney, they have business cards saying Singapore. That's a change. That's 5-8 years ago, those were British, London-based business cards. There has been very little pure regulatory change to force that. It's been a mindset change within the United Kingdom's businesses. That's the type of thing that we are seeking to tackle at an event such as this, and we'll be presenting those problems and those issues to the CRO network that we'll create after this, in order to examine quite how we can get some change along those lines. The risks and disruptions that we face are becoming more and more complex, more severe and more frequent. And they require not just mitigation, but strategic navigation. We need to stop treating risk as though it was a dirty word and start thinking about the opportunities for growth. Everyone has a part to play, but chief risk officers, the new stewards of enterprise value and geopolitical foresight, can be at the forefront of that work, balancing prudence with progress and also creating opportunity from volatility. I really look forward to working with you to reignite the city's appetite for responsible risk-taking to ensure British businesses can thrive in our ever-changing world. Thank you very much indeed for coming here today. It's a joy to see such a full room with wonderful expectant faces. Thank you very much indeed for being part of it today. I'm going to hand you back to Anna. All the best.
Thank you very much. Lord Mayor, you can go, yes.